Hello everyone, this is the recording for our Lab 2 Critique Lab. Me and Elizabeth today are going to do a mock critique. Again, I'm Ace, I'm the lead instructor for the course.
I'm Elizabeth, I'm head tier.
Cool. So as you might know, any of the course labs were done remotely, so you would have done them over Zoom or in person, depending on what kind of lab section you're in. But if you are an auditor watching this, you're always welcome to do things either in person, remote, whatever works the best for you. For today, we wanted to physically be in person to kind of show you just what it might look like if you're in the same room. But we're also both going to be on the files. As you can see, Elizabeth is on the file with me right now. So we'll be kind of using this viewing option or this observation option sometimes to get to see exactly what the other person is looking for. So with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and show you this file. So the thumbnail, as per usual, is just on this page here. And this second page of the document, if you take it from community, has two parts. The first is a little icebreaker that we want to introduce for the teams. If you're doing this by yourself, I guess there's not really an icebreaker you can do. If you're doing it with one person, it might not make a lot of sense, but we do encourage you to try to do crit in bigger groups. Highly encourage you to find people in Ask or find people in Random or even in like the lab help channels to do critique with. It's a really good exercise and it's definitely a really big part of learning how to be a designer. So if you do that and you're with strangers, you can do this icebreaker and maybe it'll be less awkward. But we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into the critique section. So as a little bit of context, whenever you're doing critique, you always wanna make sure that you're explaining the context of your particular work. So a lot of the time, you're not gonna be critiquing the same assignment or the same kind of piece that you're gonna be doing. Sometimes it's like, oh, hey, Elizabeth, I have a project I'm working on. It's a personal project to design an app for, a particular online shopping brand. And Elizabeth says, oh, well, I wanna work on something else. I have a personal project going on for a different kind of project. So if we wanted to meet up and do critique, we obviously wouldn't know everything there is to know about each other's projects. So we'd have to spend some time making sure that we present all of the context. So I explain the online shopping brand has this consistent brand guidelines right now. It is solving this kind of problem, and I'm trying to make an app in order to make the shopping experience more comfortable. So, I want to give all of that information so that we both know what we're talking about when we go into the critique. In this particular case, though, and for this lab, we wanted to all critique the trading card, partially for time, because that context setup can actually take a good chunk of time. So with the trading cards, we all already have the same context. We all know that we were going in to make this card with the same basic goals. So just in case you weren't able to do the assignment, I'll explain really quickly. The trading card assignment was our beginning lab assignment in order for everybody to basically get to know each other a little bit better. So you were to make a card that has your name, basic information like your pronouns and major and year, some fun facts about you presented however you would like, but we wanted to encourage this kind of statistics method that shows you like a numerical value, quote unquote, to some fun things about you. So we were all going in with the same ideas, and there was a general template that you were able to follow or deviate from. So because we already know that, we don't have to go over it again together, but that's just the context setting for you all. For a little bit of information, you might have noticed that the trading card box that was here is actually smaller than your actual frame that you use when you're making the trading card. So what we did was paste our original frames into this file so we can reference them. And then for the boxes, we just have images, so just static images. This is helpful in that we can't really, mess up anything because it's an image. You're not going to accidentally drag the text away. You're not going to accidentally change the colors of things. But we can also still reference everything as it is. And the really easy way to export something really quickly as a PNG is to select the frame, select the object or whatever you want. So here I've selected the ACE frame. It contains all of these different layers. And we do Command-Shift-C or Control-Shift-C, and you're gonna see that it's copying as a PNG. So then immediately I can paste it. And you're gonna see that it pastes as image 4. It's already an image. It doesn't have all of the little bits inside of it. And it's just a really easy way to quickly do that. So this is also gonna be super helpful in the future whenever you want to send a picture of something to your friend really quickly or send feedback in like a Slack channel really fast. You don't have to do the whole export process where you ordinarily would have to click and then go all the way to the bottom, click export, figure out where you're saving it, all of that stuff. You don't have to do all that. So yeah, with that, I can go ahead and get started. What we're gonna do is, again, both be on the file. So anytime that I wanna zoom in on like one part and show it to Elizabeth, or if she wants to zoom in, we can use the observation function. Anytime you're on a file with another person, you're gonna see their profile picture show up right here in the top right corner next to the word share. What you can do then is click on it. if you did this earlier, you might have seen there's going to be an outline in the color of their multiplayer color, and you're going to basically see what they're seeing on their screen. So it's going to make it super easy anytime that you want to see what they're seeing, anytime you want to follow them, anytime they say like, oh, hey, I want to show you this part of the file that's kind of hard to get to. You don't have to explain like, oh, just zoom in on the bottom left corner of page 6. You can just click on them really easily. And then I can exit it just by panning or moving or zooming out of it, or I believe clicking it again. So for the most part, if there's anything that Elizabeth says like, oh, I want you to look at this section, I can click on her. But yeah, anything you want to add before we go ahead and do crit?
No.
Okay, awesome. So, all right. I will start with my trading card. So I think it's hopefully self-explanatory. Looking at it, what I was going for, I basically Googled old UI. I was really interested in taking apart the notion of like standard quote unquote practices in a lot of popular graphic design. Has a lot of nice gradients, nice grotesque fonts, stuff like that, which is all really beautiful and lovely. And I wanted to like fuck with that. So I wanted to get old Microsoft Internet Explorer buttons and shadows and all that good stuff using Times New Roman, the default font that shows up on websites when your font doesn't load, that kind of stuff. And also Comic Sans, just to make it look kind of silly. So with that, I did basically copy the top bar almost exactly from like an old screenshot of I think MySpace. It was like a MySpace tab open in Internet Explorer, and I was trying to get the effect using like as little as possible. So for the most part, it's a bunch of drop shadows going on. You can dive into like what's going on over here because there's like a lot of different layers going on if you want. But yeah, I was wondering, I guess, specifically as one point of feedback, if there are any ways to improve the UI to make it feel more realistic, quote unquote, or make it match a little bit more of how the original UI would have looked. You can look up reference images if you want there. And I also wasn't a huge fan of the way that I laid out the content particularly. I think that there was a little bit of weird space in the bottom. One thing I wanted to do was make it feel like there was more to the page, so I was debating if I wanted to have like text cut off at the bottom to be like, oh, this is a website with more information below, but I ended up not doing that. But I'm not sure if I'm happy with the way that all of the content is laid out. Yeah, so that's me giving the context, me asking for what I want feedback on. So the pieces that, this is like my meta, I'm speaking in a meta layer now. So I did all of my context, and I basically asked for critique on how can I make the UI look more quote unquote realistic to how it used to look. And the second thing I wanted feedback on was the layout of all of the information. So now it is Elizabeth's turn, and she can ask me any questions she has, any clarifications that she wants or doesn't need, and then just dive into any comments you have.
Well, okay, I don't know if I have any questions, but I guess, should I just go into the comments?
Yeah, for sure. You can use like sandwich method like we talked about in lecture.
I think I really liked the detail like that you put in, because like especially if you go to the original, you can see all the different layers, like the drop shadows, and I feel like the underlines on the like the first letter of the different menu bar items is really like, it's a nice touch. I feel like for making it more realistic, I guess like if you Google like old UI, a lot of the like nav bars are kind of like bezeled, I guess. I don't know how you might do that effect exactly in Figma, but that would kind of bring it to be like more similar to an old UI exactly. And I guess like there's like other details, like for the scroll bar, they might have like a bunch of like lines, like horizontal, like a pattern on the scroll bar, and just like small details like that. But I feel like since the general UI is already really detailed, it's not something that like stands out to me, I guess. That like it already looks very similar. As for the layout of the page, I think it's not bad. I feel like it feels pretty balanced. One thing is that, yeah, I agree, like there's some empty space here, but just because of like the amount of information we're putting on, I don't know if you would think of like something else that you might want to put to fill this up, or maybe like, yeah, like see, I wouldn't move the snacks area to here because I feel like the ordering is just weird, but like, yeah, so like I feel like your information layout makes a lot of sense, but there is the empty space, and I don't know, maybe like you can make your image bigger, and then move everything to the side, like this can go more to the side. Yeah, I feel like for the fonts, well, because like you're going for an old HTML page, like I feel like it does, like it how do I say this? Like it represents what you're going for pretty well, I think. But I feel like maybe like your name, if you like bolded the titles, that could make it like easier to read at a glance. But yeah, overall, I really like the design. I feel like it's very fun and like nostalgic feeling.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. I think it's fun that we call it nostalgic when this is probably like prior to us using the internet.
Yeah.
But that's definitely what I was going for. Thank you for the feedback. You mentioned the like idea of beveling the particular like parts of the UI. Are you able to paste any kind of examples in?
Yeah, let me find.
Okay, awesome. Super helpful. Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I wasn't sure of like a good way to make it seem beveled in Figma. Are there any things that like you would recommend doing, or any like hacks that I could use to do that?
Wait, I'm on view only.
Oh shoot! Sorry, I did not. Another key part of critique is that you should probably let everybody edit the file. I did not do that. But yeah, Elizabeth's gonna paste in some references that she found. Super helpful if you ever have examples of stuff to show people. Oh, okay. So like this kind of drop shadow-esque thing that's happening, or it's like a harsher shadow.
Or it's more harsh, and like, I guess if you look on the inside of the bar as well, there's like a white part that makes it look bubbled. So I think like you could probably do it by layering different drop shadows and like just more rectangles, I guess, to get the effects. But yeah, that's pretty detailed work.
Awesome. Yes, I will play with this. I honestly would really like to get this like mimicking UI set going on. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't have any more questions for Elizabeth, but if you're doing crit and you come up with more questions like I did just now, to ask the person giving you feedback, always helpful. Keep asking. It's important to remember that critique is a conversation. It's not just like a one-way, here's my stuff, give me things, and then that's it. You always want to make sure that you're talking to them, that you're providing answers to questions they have, that you're asking follow-up questions, all that good stuff. Cool. Awesome. Any last thoughts before?
No.
Okay, cool. And I will observe Elizabeth, and you can go ahead and explain your card.
Okay. So my card, I guess, so there were some templates that we provided, so this is like similar to one. I didn't like deviate very far from the template. But basically, this font, or like I basically had found some new fonts and I wanted to play around with them while like incorporating it together, I guess, and not being too much. And then also for like the picture and the stars, I was just like, I wanted to play around with like the different features like stroke and like dash like features that are available in Figma. And then yeah, it's more of a simple card, and I don't know if I feel like one thing that I also did wonder was like for the blank space here as well. It felt a little weird, I guess. And yeah, I did think about moving this. Like, I don't know if this would have been, like, I could have moved it around this text here. But yeah, in the end, I just left it like this. Yeah, and then, one thing I did think was, like, I feel like I was not sure what color I should have gone with for the stars. So I just, like, settled on yellow. But yeah, that's something that I feel like I could have thought more about. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like this card. Fun fact, I was making the cards and Elizabeth was working on hers. And I was like, hers looks so pretty. I have to try really hard now. So I really, really love what you have going on here. I especially like the way that you use the stroke offset from the shapes. I think this is so much fun. Like, it adds a lot of character to the design. And I like that it's repeated. Like, you have this shape pattern, or not pattern, shape motif going on throughout the whole thing. And it really unifies all of it. Yeah, I really liked that. Some points of feedback with the colors. I think that this yellow, it is harmonious with everything, but I do think it's a little bit hard to see. So in terms of just contrast guidelines, it would be nice to make it maybe like an oranger yellow. It's kind of like a greenish yellow as it is right now. So maybe leaning it to be warmer would be a cool way to add a little bit more color. I also found it a little bit difficult to read like the words favorite snacks here because of just the contrast there. So maybe darkening the purple or pulling it to be just a little bit more saturated would have helped. Yeah, in terms of the fonts, I also really like the fonts you have going on. I have all nice things to say about this. I don't even have this freaking font on my computer, but I think it is really good font pairing, especially. I think that the way that this is like a really sharp serif, going with the kind of smoother, like rounder shape of these letters is really, really nice. Okay. Some notes that you wanted feedback on about like the empty space. I guess we both struggled with like the layout. I think that's partially an issue from the original trading card templates. It was not necessarily laid out the best way. But one thing that I could imagine, I'll do like a really quick riff here, is maybe, here we can pretend this is like the top half of the card. I'm just gonna kind of sketch this out. Putting like your name, oh, it's still in Comic Hand. Putting your name on like the right side here, and then like the star shape on like star shape here. I guess maybe this is not quite working. Wow, this is really, really janky riff, but putting like your name more in line with the shape, I guess. And then having the info down here, so having it say like junior, cogsci, CS, she, her, obviously smaller, and right aligned. So maybe that would be one option to kind of utilize the space differently. I think that it would, push it up a little bit more, so you'd have to find something else to put in the space underneath it. But that might be one option. That I could also maybe use on mine, just to make that kind of space next to the profile picture different. That said, though, I really like the size of this. I like how much space it takes up. So I don't know if I would want to make it smaller or anything. Yeah, a few other kind of miscellaneous comments. I really like that you use the number of stars as like a number of things going on, like the number of languages, and I was wondering if you were going for the same thing here, as in you have 5 recent knitting projects, or there's just a lot of them.
I put 5, but I don't know if that's exact. It's approximately 5.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I think that for consistency, if you'd wanted to like communicate that, putting like number of knitting projects the same way it says here would have been helpful. But I also like get the gist of what you're going for. It's not like a really high stakes statistic about yourself. Final nitpick, just because this is something that I like focus on a lot, or like I fixate on, is using slashes versus plus signs versus the word and. I think it would have been a nice touch to have them all unified, to either all use slashes, all use plus signs, or all use the word and. I think that's just me like in branding brain mode, going off of that. But yeah, I think that's all I had to say. Is there anything else that I missed that you wanted feedback on?
I think that was it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I really like this. I also like that we have 2 really different takes on the same assignment. I thought that was really fun. Yeah, I guess that's the end of the critique part of this critique of this. I keep calling it a mock critique, but it really is a real critique. But yeah, some kind of more parting thoughts for you to kind of marinate on. It can be really difficult to ask people for critique, and we really recognize that. It's just really hard to put your work out in front of people and then ask them to say things they didn't like about it. But that's why it's also really important to make sure you're doing that part where you explain what you do like. I think I've reiterated this in class as well, but the part of critique where you say what the other person is doing well, what's working for you, what is solving the problem efficiently, is always really important to share, because otherwise you're going to be locked in that space of thinking, oh, they didn't say anything about this. Does that mean I'm doing a bad job? Is it like not good enough? So hearing positive reinforcement is so helpful, both for yourself and for the people that you're sharing with. Another thing that I wish we could have done by having more people at this crit is, I think a lot of the time you learn a lot from other people's critiques. So for example, if somebody else was here and they had a card with elements similar to mine, or maybe they had happened to really nail that spacing in the top part that we both struggled on, we would have a lot to learn from them and hearing like each other's comments on them. So I would encourage you to find groups of more than 2 people, so like more than one partner, to do critiques with, because you're gonna be able to hear a lot more insight and a lot more perspectives on the same piece of work. The fact that it's just the 2 of us makes it a little bit hard, because I can only give Elizabeth my opinions and she can only give me hers. I'm gonna keep thinking of things, but
feature.
Oh, right. We didn't actually use the commenting feature today, but we do want to encourage you to use it. So one more time, just how to do that. You're going to see this speech bubble tool appear in the toolbar, or you can press the letter C, and you're going to basically enter comment mode. So let's actually just take like a minute or 2 to leave comments on each other's cards. This is going to be really helpful if you, for example, don't leave like these notes as you go. One other way that a lot of people do critique, you can leave comments now if you want.
Okay.
But one other way that a lot of people will do critique is actually silently. So you give the context, you give all the information, everybody asks questions, and then you just kind of look and you leave comments for like 5-10 minutes or however long you think is appropriate. And you just quietly leave those notes on everybody's work, and then if you're the person whose feedback or whose work is being observed, you can reply to any questions that come up, you can start implementing any changes immediately. It's a very efficient way to get a lot of feedback really, really quickly. Yeah, gonna go ahead and do some stuff here. Okay, I will stop there because this is probably not interesting for people to watch a recording of, but you get the idea. So you see that now there's a red notification bubble. When I click on it, I can see the comments that I left and that I have already read are going to be white, and the comments that Elizabeth leaves or anybody else leaves that I have not clicked on and read yet are going to be blue. So once I click on it, it's going to pop up here. It's going to highlight in this sidebar, and it's going to be marked as red right afterwards. So later on during, when I'm working on improving my card, I can go back and view all of these. And if I don't want to see all of these bubbles anymore, I can just click any other tool. So I can go back to selection tool, and all of those comments aren't like bothering the design anymore. Yeah, cool. Anything else you want to share?
I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, I hope this was helpful. I know that maybe watching a critique isn't always the most fun thing to do ever. It is a lot more fun to just go ahead and do it yourself. And if you would like to come into office hours and just hear crit on stuff, that is more than welcome. We'd love to do that. We'd love to just see more people at office hours. I guess a quick caveat is that if there's anybody who is coming in for like homework related questions, we'll have to give them priority. But if we have free time, which we often do in office hours, please come out. The TAs are more than happy to give crit. I love to get eyes on some of my own stuff too. So yeah, please don't be scared of us. We're very excited to help out and learn stuff with you. Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, awesome. Then we'll just call it a day now, and thank you so much for watching this. And again, if you watch the recording and have any feedback, please feel free to DM me, and I'll keep it in mind for the future. Thank you.